Grayson. Grayson. You need to make a video.
I don't care.
What do you mean you don't care? What do you can't rot away like this.
Leave me alone.
What the?
God damn it. Dude, what the fuck? How am I supposed to ascend to a higher form of life now? Hey, it's Poppin' B. Purpuck here. It's been a while, I know, but, shut up. Well, anyway, here I am, and I feel like talking about some indie games. I play a lot of games, in particular a lot of indie games of lots of different types, and sometimes a game that I like is not one that everyone likes or even anyone has really heard much about. So I figured that I'd make a list, like many have done before, of 6, because 5 is too simple, 6 underrated indie games that I think you should check out if you want some cool stuff to play. In picking these, I didn't really have a specific ratio of like how underrated they had to be. I know that some of you are probably going to have heard of some of these, but I tried to pick games that I haven't heard enough people say good things about, that I'd like to see more people talk about, and that I just wanted to talk about. So, yeah, this is going to be fun. Let's talk about some great indie games that you should check out. Without further ado, take it away, text-to-speech program voice.
Super duper LEU per Time Force Ultra.
Let's start off with something stupid. Stupid fun. Super Time Force Ultra, or STFU, is the smartest dumb game ever made. It's a 2D shooter where you play as the eponymous Super Time Force, Ultra notwithstanding, where you blast your way through different time periods trying to make history more awesome. It's as silly and sophomoric in tone as the premise sounds, with a jokey, very tongue-in-cheek plot with corny writing. And can I just say, it's refreshing to see a time travel story that plays it really fast and loose with the time travel, just because it's more fun. We don't get enough of that, especially in video games. But the time travel is more than just a theme, it's a full-blown mechanic. When your character dies in just one hit, you can then rewind time to any point in the level from before you died and respawn as another character, or even a copy of the same character. But that's not all, because everything that last character did, and indeed every other character you spawn, will all still play out, all on the same timeline. Meaning you can make multiple attempts at pretty much every obstacle as long as you take your time to strategize which character of the many you can unlock is best suited to each situation. Each character handles a little differently. All of them have unique weapons, and each weapon has a special, more powerful charge shot, each one unique to that character. It's an arsenal of kick-ass weapons and kick-ass characters with boppin' tunes and colorful, highly expressive pixel art. What more could you ask for? Well, even if you didn't ask for more, there is more, so open wide. There's also a great deal of stuff to collect in each level, which often requires parsing out alternative paths and unique objects in the environment, and then likely some time manipulation character placing that takes full advantage of the temporal gimmick in more than just a combat context. In other words, kick-ass time-bending puzzles to collect shiny things. Shiny things that often unlock more characters for you. There's also intense time trial challenges that'll really test your knowledge of the level design and mechanics, as well as multiple completion requirements that really increases the already high replayability. There's also the Holodeck, which puts you in a special set of challenge rooms to test your skills under set circumstances. There's tons of collectibles you need to warp time and space to your will in order to obtain, and as already stated, there are tons of different characters and hence guns to unlock. You start with 3 basic players, but you gradually unlock more and more by collecting things, like I said, or by finding them in the levels. Some of my favorites are the unfortunately named Melanie Gibson, and the quite fortunately named Dolphin Lundgren. Super Time Force Ultra is basically Contra meets Broforce meets Braid, and if that doesn't sell it to you, then I don't know if I'm going to be able to change your mind. It's simultaneously brainless action fun and an intriguing puzzle platformer with a lot of thought put into it. There's not much else out there quite like it, and I highly recommend you check it out.
Hypnospace Outlaw. Y'all kids remember GeoCities?
To start, press any key. Where's the any key?
Hypnospace Outlaw is one of the most unique adventure games to pop up in the last few years. There really isn't anything else quite like it. In it, you play as an administrator for the beta launch of an alternative history version of the early 2000s internet. If you grew up in the era of Angel Fire infrastructure and personal fan sites for anything and everything, you might find some bizarre nostalgia in this. And even if you aren't, and don't, you still have a truly well-realized, narrative-driven experience with organic investigative gameplay and an immersive world full of offbeat humor and varied quirky visuals. But enough buzzwords, what do you do in this game? Well, you browse Hypnospace. You receive assignments from your superiors and go looking through specific sectors of the interwebs looking for violations of the set rules, such as copyright infringement or harassment, as you scour through the brief windows into the users' lives that are their web pages. And these feel like real people that you might casually come across when browsing the internet, even today. They have lives, routines, and beliefs that they express through spinning artifact gifs and ramshackle blog posts. They even have relationships with each other in a lot of cases, and it makes this little corner of the internet feel like a tightly knit community. It's an amazingly well-crafted world, reminding you so often of the real world that you feel like you're really living in that alternate timeline that the game documents. Tons of tiny details make the world feel a lot bigger than it is, and the story it tells with all of this is surprisingly engaging. I don't want to spoil where the story goes, since for an adventure game that's a lot of the appeal, so I'll just stop here. Let me just say that Hypnospace Outlaw is a bomb-ass adventure game with fantastic theming and writing and a truly immersive world. It's also got some fantastic music, including the immortal Granny Cream's Hot Butter Ice Cream theme song. I've used it in videos in the past, I probably will in the future. It's just so funny to me.
Granny Cream's Hot Butter Ice Cream. We take the hot butter, mix it with the ice cream, freeze it up cool, you can see it on your screen. Put it in your microwave, make it real hot like a soup or a dip. We call it heat and sip. Very tasty and healthy too. Granny Cream's Hot Butter Ice Cream.
I hate to say it. It's just butter and ice cream. It's just milk fat. It's got to be one of the most unhealthy things you can possibly do. Which is why I only had 3 bites. Just turn the camera off.
Going underappreciated.
In a time where Hades is the hot thing that everyone is talking about, how about we give another great 2020 roguelite some time in the spotlight? Not to say Hades isn't good, it's fantastic, but so is Going Under. Here we have a bright and colorful game, ironically about the drab and depressing real world of unpaid internships and toxic workplaces, topped off with tons of charm, excellent narrative theming, fleshed out gameplay mechanics, and combat where anything can be a weapon. Said combat is fluid and frantic and bases itself in constant movement, dodge rolling and utilizing different weapon types, all while smartly managing your resources. In other words, it's a rock-solid roguelike with a big bucket of colorful whimsy and late-stage capitalism-inspired dread dumped all over it. The game's excellent satirical writing takes frequent digs at the state of office culture and internships in the modern era, lampooning everything from algorithms being trusted to build a brand, to the day-to-day financial realities of recent college graduates, to real-world examples of truly anti-human practices, and so much more. Going Under has something to say, and it isn't afraid to say it, which is something that I and many others really appreciate about it. It's not afraid to discuss very real things, and the game also manages to wonderfully weave these themes into both the narrative and gameplay itself. Business jargon and workspace culture buzzwords are gamified as perks for the main character Jacqueline to use. From failing forward to moving fast and breaking things, not to mention the extra perks you can unlock through character-given side quests in the dungeons. There's just a lot to do in this game, and I'd say it's all good stuff to do. There's also a lot of stuff to play with in Going Under, because did I mention that everything is a weapon? Pencils, tablet pens, boyfriend pillows, staplers, squirt guns, even your own crippling debt, because if this game was any more on point, it'd be a pencil sharpener. Experimentation and learning all the little ins and outs of the combat and the environments are key, as you run around in these procedurally generated dungeons that somehow feel freshly crafted every time you start a run. This is another game on this list with an excellent soundtrack. It's pretty much true of all of them, with tons of great tracks that vary from relaxing to super intense. Not to mention the soundtrack is safe to be used on streams, which is an added plus. Please, I encourage you to send in your application to Going Under. The payout is worthwhile and the benefits are many. Business jokes. Don't wait on this one too long or else, you might aggro the crab.
Valhalla, better than Cyberpunk 2077 bartender action.
If you've never played a visual novel game before, or if you're just not sure if you'd like them to begin with, may I recommend one of the best gateway VNs ever made, and possibly just one of the best as well, Valhalla Cyberpunk Bartender Action. Were you excited for Cyberpunk 2077? Eager to immerse yourself in the dystopian setting and soak up every detail of this well-realized world, only to have the buggy, broken reality of the final product ruin it all for you? Well then, allow me to introduce you to the world of Valhalla, spelled VA-11 Hall-A. A game with a plot, characters, and world better realized than most big-budget games could ever hope to have, despite mostly taking place on one screen in one room. In Valhalla, you make and serve drinks in a franchise bar called Valhalla, and throughout the course of the game, you play the role of Jill Stingray, a highly professional bartender and dedicated listener whose job serves as a window into the lives of the many colorful customers who waltz in looking to drown their sorrows. It should be made clear that Valhalla is a game mostly about reading and paying attention, and if that doesn't sound like your cup of tea, I won't blame you for turning this game down. I also wouldn't blame you for being turned off by some of the topics discussed in Valhalla, from frank descriptions of sex work and sexuality, love and romance, as well as discussions on the ethics of tabloid journalism, the nature of what it is to be a person at all, let alone human, among many other things. If that stuff makes you uncomfortable or doesn't interest you, then consider this your warning. For those who are interested and stick around for the whole show, you are in for a treat. There are no traditional dialogue choices in Valhalla, but there is still room for your individual actions to have consequences. The drink-making system is pretty simple to understand as well as forgiving, but you paying attention to the dialogue and characters' specific preferences are very important. Firstly, because there are gameplay bonuses for better performance, and also because your decisions will have subtle effects on the outcome of the story. You can often choose to get certain characters excessively drunk or not, which can lead to basically anything, or you can play it safe because you feel that's the right thing to do. It's all up to you. The world is reactive in subtle ways that feed back into your relationships with other characters, and every new customer is an opportunity that the game takes to expand its narrative scope, as well as potentially introduce you to yet another personal favorite. In between all of that, you have Jill's own story, which you learn more and more about throughout the course of the game, as well as the rock-solid world-building elements of both character dialogue as well as in-universe literature, and tiny attention-to-detail moments that make Glitch City and the people living in it feel uncomfortably real, which was very much the developer's intention. The staff of Sukeban Games hail from Venezuela, and based the world of the game and the characters in it off of the collective experience they and many other people had of just looking for a way to take a break from all their worries living in a third world country. Designer Christopher Ortiz stated that they aim to create, quote, a really depressing society, where everyone's always sad and worried about their future in a country with no hope of recovering. So we came up with a set of characters who, in the middle of this disaster, try to go on with their lives and be as happy as they can with what they have. A theme based off their own experiences, which may feel all the more topical and relatable to even more people at the moment. Valhalla can get uncomfortable and very real at times, but it also never shies away from a quality joke or a truly riveting conversation. It treats all of it with equal respect and dignity, which creates a wonderfully balanced tone that it maintains from start to finish, despite flipping back and forth between different types of writing so often. It's an interactive page-turner with simple and forgiving, but still demanding and engaging gameplay that will truly suck you in if you let it. Then of course there's the presentation, which is absolutely tops. The pixel art is of a very high quality, with the character portraits in particular being excellent and highly expressive. And the soundtrack is a certified all jams playlist. A playlist that, did I mention, can be customized on the in-game jukebox before every session of drink serving? Just give Valhalla a chance. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic game in pretty much every way. It's even got a sequel coming down the line eventually. Just give it a shot and let me know what you thought of it. It's time to mix drinks and change lives.
Baba is you. Baba is all of us. Long live the proletariat.
this is a truly special game. Baba Is You is a game with a core gameplay gimmick so creative and fun that I guarantee that most of you are going to want to play it after I'm done explaining what it is. This is a block-pushing puzzle game where there are objects to move as well as blocks of text. Stuff like rock is push and Baba is you. These are true statements and simply facts of the game, but with a twist. You can physically rearrange the text in order to alter the properties and conditions surrounding different objects. Rock might be push now, but now wall is push and Baba is rock, and if by this point in the sales pitch, your mind is buzzing with the same kind of mirthful will to create normally reserved for benevolent interventionist gods, don't worry, that's normal. This dynamic creates an absolutely mind-bending odyssey of dozens and dozens of levels where you can play God by essentially dismantling the code itself over and over again. Break the level down, become the level, change the rules, make new rules, it's all up to you. Most of the puzzles have multiple possible solutions because they're really only limited by the set number of variables you're given at the start of each level and your own imagination. You could break down a wall to get to the goal, or you could just become the wall and say fuck it, nobody's gonna stop you from violating municipal zoning laws because you are the zone. People who are in the zone are inside you now. This isn't a one-hit wonder kind of mechanic either. The game will consistently come up with new challenges and present opportunities for you to once again reinvent the wheel, or perhaps even transmogrify it. I'll even admit that I've still not beaten the whole game myself, but it's so consistently intelligent in design and truly brain-tickling that I have no reservations recommending it anyway. If you think this game might not be for you, I implore you to reconsider. Everyone I have shown this game has loved it, even my mother, not pictured, who has barely any experience with playing video games, legitimately wanted her own Nintendo Switch after playing it for just half an hour so that she could play it herself. It's available on other platforms too, not just Switch. Though the same can't be said of our last game,
Vitamin Connection. Your daily dose of digital dopamine.
Stuck in a vast unending darkness, how can I make it home? Is there a way to freedom from this night, from the shadows waking?
And now for one of the most underrated games in this video, and the main inspiration for this list, the Switch-exclusive Vitamin Connection. Brought to us by WayForward, a developer I believe I've gushed about several times on this channel already, and will probably do again in the future. In fact, who am I kidding? It's a certainty. Vitamin Connection is legit one of the best games available on the Nintendo Switch, in my opinion. It came out in early 2020, and as far as I can tell, maybe like 12 people played it, and I was one of them. I know I've probably disappointed a few of you without a Nintendo Switch by mentioning that this game is exclusive to the system, and I understand why, but that's part of what is so special about this game. It truly takes full advantage of the fact that it is on the Switch, perhaps more than any other game I've seen on the system so far. You play as Vita Boy and Mina Girl, two tiny, friendly, yet silent people persons who fly around in a vitamin capsule-shaped spaceship that can shoot bacteria and viruses with a vitamin beam. And each level sees you helping out a member of the Sable family, all of whom are having bodily troubles. Except for the dad. He needs help with the TV. Not really sure how a vitamin will help with that, but okay, just don't question it. In the simplest of terms, Vitamin Connection is an on-rails 2D shooter loaded with a metric ton of good ideas backed by adorable art design and a god-tier soundtrack. The soundtrack in Vitamin Connection is genuinely next level. It was handled by Mint Potion, a team of very talented composers who you should be keeping an eye on. They've collectively worked on a lot of great games as well as cartoons, and what they did for Vitamin Connection is some of their best work. Vitamin Connection is one of the most varied, high production value sounding soundtracks I've ever heard from any studio, let alone a smaller one like WayForward, and the variety of it is impressive as well. The soundtrack was inspired by Jet Set Radio and Katamari Damacy in terms of tone and style for a lot of it, and it shines through. The joyful lyrics sung in both English and Japanese, the multiple different genres that the levels shuffle through without losing any energy or quality, like rap, emo grunge, and just straight up radio chart topping love songs.
Down to the station, 'cause we both know we need a vacation. You know, to the cosmic.
It's phenomenal. And the way your weapon fire adds an additional layer to every track. It's all just so good. I highly suggest you check out the OST on Bandcamp because it's seriously some amazing stuff. Alright, enough drooling over sound design, time for gameplay. What makes Vitamin Connection truly unique as a game are its asymmetrical controls and the variety of gameplay it manages to squeeze out of them. In single player, you can utilize a variety of control methods to get things done, but the intended control method, and only option in co-op mode, is playing with a set of Joy-Cons. This is why the Switch exclusivity is a bittersweet aspect of the game. Sure, it's lame that only one system gets it, but at the same time, it utilizes the unique aspects of the Switch so well that it's hard to stay upset. I mean, for God's sake, in 2-player mode, each person shares a Joy-Con to control one ship, and it's the funnest, most wackiest thing ever. But considering a lot of you will probably just be playing solo, well, I'll just go with the gameplay basics, and it pretty much applies to both modes. Some differences. You'll be rotating, dodging, shooting, maneuvering, grabbing claws, and more during the typical gameplay where you move on rails through people's rainbow-colored guts, blasting through different obstacles and cutesy enemies, and multiple times per level, you are thrown into one of many mini-games that utilizes the controls in a new way. There's even a section that uses the Joy-Con's infrared camera. How many games even do that? Whether it's a game where you rotate to guide a hoop along a wire, or playing a surprisingly challenging air hockey game, or even a rhythm game section with its own catchy music, you're always doing something fresh and creative. All the while, the difficulty curves upward at a wonderful rate throughout a wholesome, cutesy story that is for the most part a light touch to the overall experience. It still has a surprisingly satisfying and emotional conclusion. It's a truly joyful experience enhanced by an entrancing score and adorable emotive visuals, among many other things. This is a game full of wonderful little surprises, and I'll leave the rest for you to discover for yourselves. If you do have a Switch, all I can do is humbly ask you to give this game a try. It has a demo on the Switch eShop, so there's no excuse. Please? Vitamin Connection is one of the best exclusive games on Switch, and when this came out in 2020, this was such a ray of sunshine, and it seems like so few people are talking about it. It's because of games like Vitamin Connection that I wanted to make this video. These titles I picked out are merely a handful of the many great indie games out there that you might have never played or even heard of. And if I brought to attention to at least one of you something that you can truly enjoy, I love that, because I love doing that for people. And I can easily see myself doing another video like this in the future, because there are a lot of indie games that need rep, and I'm going to try my best to get out there and chill for the little guy.
And there you have it. 6 great indie games I think all of you should check out. Most of these, again, are on Switch or PC, one or the other, or both. So, plenty of opportunities for you to check these out. And I think I'll take a break from games for now. I feel like bowling.